You sit down to work. You ask a few questions. And suddenly, the limit is reached. Where did the tokens go? 2-sec silence. Welcome to this deep dive.
Thank you. It is great to be here.
Today, we are going on a bit of a mission together. We are exploring a fascinating breakdown of the 12 hidden reasons why your Claude Cowork usage limit just vanishes.
Yeah, and the most interesting part is that it's almost never because you are doing too much actual work.
I think that is a huge relief for a lot of you listening, because I have to make a bit of a vulnerable admission here.
Well,
Yeah, I still wrestle with prompt drift myself, just letting context pile up without really thinking about it.
right. It is so easy to do. We just assume the machine can handle everything effortlessly.
Exactly. We assume it only charges us for the exact question we just asked.
Yeah.
But the source text we are analyzing today paints a very different picture.
It really does. Fixing this issue isn't about working less or cutting back on your actual output. It is about cleaning up a messy, bloated setup.
So we are basically going to travel from the simplest quick fixes all the way to some really smart automation habits.
Exactly. But before we fix the limit, we really have to understand where the credits are actually leaking in the background.
Right. Because clearly it is not just the words I am typing into the little prompt box.
Not at all. You need to think of every single session as having two distinct bills you have to pay.
Okay, 2 bills. What is the first one?
The first bill is the actual work. This is the stuff you see happening on the screen.
Like the text that generates for you.
Yeah, the text generation, the web searching, running Python code. That is the explicit work.
That makes total sense. I am asking for a service, I pay for that service.
Right. But the second bill is where people get caught. That is the automatic background loading.
And this happens completely out of sight.
Entirely. It happens before you even finish typing your first message. Your setup files load up. Your active tools load.
And the source material points out that Cowork specifically drains limits much faster than regular chat, right?
It does, yes, because Cowork combines file reading, searching, and coding all into one unified environment. It is just a heavier lift overall.
Because every single one of those actions requires the underlying model to process tokens.
Exactly.
We should probably pause and just define that AI jargon quickly for everyone listening. What exactly is a token?
Sure. Tokens are just pieces of words the AI reads and writes.
So it is the basic currency of the whole system.
Right, it is the raw fuel.
So if I have a bloated setup, the AI is reading thousands of these tokens before doing any real work. So leaving unused files in your setup is like leaving your car engine running while parked.
That is a great analogy. You are burning expensive fuel to go absolutely nowhere.
So background tasks can actually cost more than the prompt.
Exactly. Invisible background loading quietly eats your daily limit.
Wow. Okay, so now that we know how these credits are being spent, let us look at the fastest fix available.
Yeah, this literally takes 5 seconds. It is all about choosing the right engine for the task. Model matchmaking.
I am definitely guilty of messing this up. I tend to just default to Opus 4.7 for absolutely everything.
You and almost everyone else, it is a safety blanket.
It totally is. I just want the best possible answer, even if I am just drafting a basic email. But based on this guide, I am kind of just throwing credits away.
You really are. Opus 4.7 is an incredible model, but it is built for complex, multi-step reasoning.
So using it for simple stuff is overkill.
Totally. It is like using a sledgehammer for a thumbtack.
Right. It gets the job done, but it is exhausting and wasteful. So what should we be using instead?
You have 3 main options. Haiku 4.5 is the lightest. You want to use that for quick formatting, simple summaries, or basic emails.
And then there is Sonnet?
Yeah, Sonnet 4.6. That is your daily driver. It is the best all-around model for regular work and light research. You only bring in Opus 4.7 for the heavy logical lifting.
Okay, so we match the model to the task. But there is also a massive difference between what we send the AI and what it sends back, right?
A huge difference. Output tokens are significantly more expensive than input tokens.
Let us look at the specific example from the source regarding the Sonnet 4 API.
Right, so the API pricing shows that input tokens cost about $3 per million.
Okay, $3.
But the output tokens, the words the AI generates for you, those cost $15 per million.
Whoa, that is a massive jump.
It is 5 times more expensive.
Why do long, detailed answers drain my credits so fast?
Because output tokens cost 5 times more than input tokens.
So the natural instinct of the AI to give these long, beautifully structured essays is actually hurting my daily limit.
Exactly. It wants to be helpful, but thoroughness is incredibly expensive.
So how do we fix that?
It is brilliantly simple. Just tell Claude to be brief.
Literally just add a constraint to the prompt.
Yes. Just type, keep it under 5 sentences. That single instruction saves you a massive amount of output compute.
That makes perfect sense. We trim the outputs, but earlier we talked about the permanent instructions we forced the AI to carry.
Write the background files. The biggest offender here is the Claude MD file.
This is a file that sits in your project and tells the AI how to behave, right?
Exactly. It holds your custom instructions.
Yeah.
The problem is that this file loads every single time you send a new message.
Even for a quick follow-up question.
Every single time. If your file is 2,000 words long, the AI has to read those 2,000 words before it even looks at your new prompt.
That sounds incredibly wasteful.
It is. The rule from the breakdown is very clear. Keep that file under 200 lines.
Okay, under 200 lines, what should actually go in there?
Only the universal stuff.
Yeah.
Your core business identity, your general tone of voice, maybe a few absolute non-negotiable rules.
But what if I have a massive checklist for writing blog posts or a complex translation workflow?
You do not put those in the main file. You move heavy specific instructions into skills.
Skills. Okay, how do those differ?
Skills operate differently. They do not load globally. They only load strictly on demand.
Oh, I see. So instead of carrying your entire high school locker in your backpack, using skills is like stacking Lego blocks of data only when you need them.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. If you ask it to translate a document, it reaches out, grabs the translation skill block, and uses it just for that task.
So the MD file is always on, but skills are on demand.
Right. Skills only load when your specific task actually needs them.
That clears up so much unnecessary weight. Sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay, we are back. So we have fixed the permanent setup files. But what about the actual workspace?
Right. How we structure our daily conversations is the next big trap.
And the source guide leans heavily into using projects for this.
Yes, projects are vital. You have to separate your context. You need a space for content, a separate one for client work, personal stuff, operations.
You don't want to mix YouTube scripts with grocery lists.
Exactly. But even if you use projects perfectly, the individual chats themselves can drain your account. Long chats are incredibly expensive.
Because we treat it like a texting thread with a friend. We just keep replying in the same window all day.
And that is a huge mistake. The AI does not remember the chat like a human does.
Right.
Claude has to reread the entire history of the chat with every single new message you send.
Wait, the entire history from the very first hello?
Yes. A 20-message session costs 2 to 3 times more than a 10-message session.
And if you keep going?
A 30-message session is 4 to 5 times more expensive. One developer found that in long threads, most of your tokens just go to rereading the past.
Whoa. Imagine scaling to 1 billion queries. The amount of wasted compute just rereading history is staggering.
It is an architectural quirk of how the models work right now.
Do older messages in a thread keep charging me tokens?
Yes, the AI rereads the entire chat history every single time.
So how do we stop the bleeding here?
1 task per session. That is the rule. Once the specific task is done, you close the chat.
But what if the task takes a long time and I need that previous context to keep going?
Then you ask Claude to summarize the chat so far. You copy that short summary, open a brand new clean session, and paste the summary in.
Oh, that is so smart. You keep the core knowledge without dragging the heavy transcript along with you.
Exactly. It resets your token cost back to 0 while keeping the momentum.
Okay, so we are clearing out the active chat history. But there is also hidden history gathering dust elsewhere in the workspace, right?
Yes. Connectors and memory files.
Let us start with connectors. These are the plugins like Canva, Gmail, Google Drive.
Right. They are super useful, but they add significant context weight to your profile just by being plugged in.
Even if I am not actively using them in that session.
Even if you are not using them, the system has to allocate memory just to keep them on standby.
It is like having 10 browser tabs open from last month that you were still paying rent on.
That is exactly what it is. The fix here is an audit. Disconnect any integration you haven't used in the last 2 weeks.
Cut the dead weight. And what about memory files?
Memory files sit inside a project. They might be past feedback you gave or old formatting rules.
And they load automatically.
Yes, they load at the start of every conversation in that specific project. If they are outdated, they're just expensive noise.
Are old memory files quietly draining my account in the background?
Yeah, you are paying for outdated noise in every single session.
So I just need to go in and delete them.
Yep. Review and clean them out every 2 weeks. It takes 5 minutes.
Okay, so we have leaned out the system. We trimmed the MD file, used skills, kept chats short, and deleted old memory.
Your system is now incredibly lean, which means we can finally talk about maximizing the limits you have left using automation.
The source text mentions scheduled tasks, like a morning email briefing or a weekly report.
Right. Scheduled tasks are incredibly credit efficient
Why is that?
because they start fresh. They have absolutely zero chat history to read. They just wake up, do the job, and shut down.
But what happens if an automated task hits my limit right in the middle of a run?
It crashes, which is bad if it is an important client report. But there is a safety net you can set up.
Extra usage, right?
Yeah, it is basically a pay-as-you-go buffer. You
Yeah.
put $5 or $10 into the account.
So if my main limit vanishes, it just dips into that $5 to finish the job.
Exactly. It ensures your automations never abruptly stop.
That is a great fail-safe. But there is one more variable the guide mentions, and I found this one really surprising. Timing.
Timing is huge. Peak hours are weekdays from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time.
Wait, the actual time of day I run a prompt changes how the limit feels.
Right, and it changes how the system handles your requests. During peak hours, the system load is much higher. Millions of people are logging on to work.
So the available compute shrinks for everyone.
Exactly. The limits will feel much tighter during those hours.
So the fix is just scheduling around the rush hour.
Yes. Take your heavy, automated jobs like massive data scraping or weekly reports and schedule them to run late at night or on the weekends.
Why should I schedule my heavy automated tasks at night?
System load drops, which keeps your automated workflows running smoothly.
It is such a simple adjustment, but it makes so much sense. Beat. So, stepping back from all these technical fixes, what is the big idea here?
The main takeaway is a shift in perspective. Hitting limits isn't a sign that you are working too hard or being too productive.
Right.
It is usually a sign that your system is carrying too much baggage.
We have to keep our inputs lean. We have to match the models correctly. Haiku, Sonnet, Opus.
Exactly. And cutting all that dead weight gives you massive runway to do the actual creative work you want to do.
It really makes you think. If AI context windows are like human working memory, are we treating our tools the way we treat ourselves? Overloading them with irrelevant baggage and anxieties from the past, instead of giving them a clean slate to focus on the task at hand. Beat. Take 5 minutes today, log in, and look at your claudu.md file. Trim it down to just the essentials.
It really will change how you work.
Thank you for taking this deep dive with us today.